Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and yes, you already know I'm a Raiders fan, and today is kickoff Sunday, starting the NFL season, so I'm going to be wearing my Raiders stuff. If you're a Raider hater, well, you'll have to deal with it, or you can just go watch something else. That's up to you. So, anyway, today's video is going to be my Day 3 Comic-Con recap for Salt Lake City Comic-Con, and then I'm going to kind of give my overall impressions of the entire event, the whole 3-day event. So, to start off with, yesterday was, I got to take my wife with me because she was working the other 2 days, so we actually got to go together, and it was pretty much the same as the first 2 days, with the exception of there was probably 3 times the people. It was insanely packed. It got so busy that the fire department would not allow anybody else into the con. Even people that had paid for their tickets, they just couldn't get in. So I don't know if refunds were issued, or if people just had to wait till some people left later on and then they could get in. I'm not sure how they worked all that out, but there was a lot of upset people because they had paid good money to get, and they just simply couldn't. The fire department said, no, there's too many people in here, because they initially wanted to sell 10,000 tickets when they first started this venture. They sold what they thought by Friday evening, close to 40,000 tickets. But on Saturday, yesterday, the fire department estimated that there was between 70 and 80,000 people at Comic-Con inside the building, and that's why they shut it. They wouldn't let anybody else in. So if that's true, that's unheard of. I mean, for a first-year Comic-Con, it's already been confirmed that they broke the records for first-year Comic-Con for any city, and a lot of that's probably because Stan Lee got added at the last minute, and that, I'm sure, pushed ticket sales through the roof. So anyway, so yesterday was just, I mean, you were walking, one of these numbers here, and bumping into people constantly, and it was just packed. So, but we did get a few things, get to see a few things yesterday. I had mentioned before on, I think it was Thursday, I was able to get a autograph by Jeff Easley on one of my D&D books, and there is a magazine called Gygax magazine. I've talked about it before, for us old role-playing game aficionados, and it's done in the fashion of the old Dragon magazine, and this one is a quarterly magazine, and it's called a magazine, but it's kind of like a game aid. Also, there's a lot of things in here to help you with your gaming and all that, in addition to articles and stuff like that. So it accomplishes quite a bit. And this is the second issue right here. And so anybody that remembers old Dragon magazine will instantly realize it's the same look as the old Dragons. And I was able to get this just in the nick of time to get down there. It came on Friday after I was already at the convention, so I was hoping that Jeff would be there yesterday, and he was. And so he signed it for me right there, because he did this beautiful cover, this dragon cover here. I don't know if get a little closer there and you guys can get a better look at it. But yeah, that's Mr. Jeff Easley's artwork there. So I was able to get that signed, so I was pretty happy about that. And I also stumbled upon, again, this is in the role-playing game genre. I just happened to be walking by this one booth, and I saw this X-Treme Dungeon Mastery by Tracy and Curtis Hickman. And for those of you that know the name Tracy Hickman as one of the all-time great authors of the Dragonlance series and just all kinds of fantasy books and everything else. He was at the convention. And so this apparently was a project that he had worked on, and they're still working on apparently, because they've also released a module, an adventure module called, let's see here, Quest for the Tavern. And both of these products are done with quite a bit of humor in mind. There's a lot of good illustrations in here and everything, and as you can see here, this is the kind of humor you're going to see where it says, you know, points at the adventuring party, doomed. They're already proclaiming that they're done for. So the good thing about it was, I happened to stumble upon it, was that the illustrator that did all this artwork for these was right there. And if you bought the books, he would do a custom sketch for you. And he basically asked me what my first character was, and I said, well, I told him, you know, what his name was, what he was a human thief, and he ended up becoming a subclass acrobat. And so he drew me this little, I mean, that's pretty close to exactly how I would picture my character in a cartoon form, you know. So, and then of course he signed it down there at the bottom too. But in addition, because Mr. Hickman was at the convention, I got him to sign it as well. So, and they signed both of them. And so you can see there's a signature there. So both of these products I was able to get. Oh, and the artist did a little sketch in here too. He asked what my favorite monster was in old Dungeons and Dragons and everything, and I said, well, it would be the bullet, but it's also known as the land shark. And this was his representation of the bullet. So, in any case, got both those sketches in there and the signatures. So I was pretty happy about that. Now those, I'll put links for everything I'm talking about in the description here. So if there's any of these things that you guys want to try and find or whatever, I'll put links in there for you. My wife and I were walking by, and we just saw this guy sitting there, and he was all, you know, no one was at his booth or whatever, and I couldn't figure out, he had all this UFO stuff up, and I couldn't quite figure out what the heck he was trying to do, what his function there was. And this is what he was doing. He was selling these, and as a matter of fact, I got to take it out of the plastic, or you won't be able to see it because of the glare. He's selling these little things, and they're kind of funny. It's just a humorous thing. Intergalactic Anti-UFO Abduction Agency of Uranus. And I'll read it. It's real short. This official document states that the bearer has purchased a limited edition policy from the Intergalactic Anti-UFO Abduction Agency of Uranus. It states that in the event of an abduction by UFOs, policyholder of this authentic collectible will be repatriated by our secret qualified Uranus assault team. So, anyway, he wanted $7 for him. I said, well, I'll give you 5. And he took 5. And there was another guy right there next to me, and as soon as he said he would take 5, the other guy bought 3 of them. So I guess he was giving them as little gag gifts or whatever. I just thought they were kind of funny. So I will probably, put a little frame around this and put it somewhere in my office. I thought it would be kind of funny. So found that, which I thought was a little bit of comedy relief there, and found a booth that was selling these. They're 8-bit playing cards. They're basically just regular old deck of playing cards, but everything on them is done in the 8-bit graphics from the old school vintage gaming stuff. And this is what they look like. There's a jack. There's a jack for you right there. And it's They're all, here's the Queen. They're all just 8-bit, different 8-bit characters on here. And I just thought it was kind of a neat idea. And then they were also selling 8-bit dice. And unfortunately, I have an unhealthy addiction to buying dice. So, and that's what they look like. If you can see them, they just have little, the little 8-bit deals. But what's kind of cool is that the 1 on there, if I can get it around there, the 1 is a question mark. So, and you got like a pack of, there's like 8 dice in here. So, of course, they got me for the cards and the dice both. It's made by a game company called Home Run, and they're out of Arizona. I'll put a link for this in there too, if you were interested in buying some of those. Also found this, which I missed the first 2 days. There's a local game company, Fongo Bongo Games, here in Utah, and they were actually a sponsor there at Comic-Con, and they had these, and you may have seen it. I'd never seen it before. Critical Hit, it's called, and it is a 20-sided die, but if you get it to the, as if you were, when you hit a natural 20, if it was to land on 20, it flashes. So, which I thought, well, that's kind of cool, because, you know, unfortunately, I've never been that lucky when I've been playing D&D to hit natural 20s, but it'd be kind of neat when you do get it to flash a little bit for you. I thought that was just kind of a neat little novelty. Ran into another small game company that is working on a game called Grimm Endings. Now, and this is a video game, and that's just a postcard they've got out of it right now. I guess they're just in the beginning stages of it. But it is it's going to be an adventure, point and click adventure type computer game. And so if you ever played, Tales from Monkey Island, that's the kind of what I get from it. It looks like it's that style, like Tales from Monkey Island type style, but it's going to be point and click. And they didn't give me a lot about the story or any of that stuff, but I'll put a link to their website if anybody's interested. I think there's going to be a Kickstarter campaign for that. So if you like adventure games, it may be something you want to check out. Let's see. There's a couple of other local game shops that I wanted to mention that were there at Comic-Con, and because they for my subscribers that are local, if they didn't know about them all, I'll put links in the description below. But you had Fongo Bongo Games, you had Epic Gaming, Epic Puzzles and Games, I think it's called, and you had Game Vault in Ogden. So I'll put those links in there for all my local folks that may not know about them and want to check them out. So that is kind of, I did forget to, on my day 2 recap, I forgot to mention a couple things that happened at day 2. I got to meet David Prowse, who played, he was Darth Vader. He was inside the suit in the very first 3 movies. And of course, when Vader was dying and Luke takes his mask off, that was not David Prowse. That was inside. That was another actor. And so me and my friends and a lot of people have always said, why wasn't that David Prowse that was inside the mask once it was taken off? And so I asked Mr. Prowse about it, and he said basically Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan, called in a favor with Mr. George Lucas, saying that he had a friend who he wanted to get into the movie, and they couldn't figure out a role for him at all. And then they decided, well, we could put him inside the Vader helmet, put him inside the Vader suit and everything for when Luke takes the mask off. And that's why it was not David Prowse. Mr. Prowse is not happy about that. Mr. Prowse didn't even know that they had done that until he actually saw the movie. Now, he told me this personally. He said that that's how he found out about it. He was watching the movie, and then so he didn't even know that that scene existed till he watched the movie. And the fact that they chose another actor over him who had played Darth Vader through all the movies, he felt, that was very kind of a shitty thing to do, basically. So I thought that was a neat little story, little piece of insight that I was able to pick up. The other thing from day 2 that I failed to mention was they had demos of a game called Shootmania, and I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but to me, I played it. I was sitting there, and it's a first-person shooter, and to me, it felt almost the same as Quake Live, except you're in outdoor environments. So nothing about it struck me as anything groundbreaking. Nothing about it struck me as anything I haven't already done. And in my opinion, if I wanted that type of a game experience, I would be playing Quake Live, because I like Quake Live, and the action seemed a little bit more fast-paced in Quake Live than in this one. This is a lot bigger spaces that you're playing in. So some people, I mean, it may be your thing that you would like the idea of bigger open spaces that you're, trying to capture the flag in and everything. And it's basically just fragging and capture the flag type of thing. That's what it is. So I'll put a link for their website as well in case you want to check out that game. And so that basically gets us caught up to all the happenings that took place for me during Comic-Con. And now for my overall impression, I felt that for being a very first year convention, it was very well run. Now, if this was some convention that had been an established one, and this was its 5th or 6th year, then I would have had some issues, because there was issues with not having enough seating for people that wanted to eat, because they had stuff that a lot of stuff to buy, food and drink and all that stuff, and they did have, you could buy beer there. There was lots of selection for beer, so I did like that. But there just wasn't enough seating for people that were eating, so a lot of people were just sitting on the floor, everywhere, and they did oversell it. That's why they ended up getting shut down by the fire marshal. And they didn't get shut down. The fire marshal wouldn't allow anybody else in the building. The convention continued to run. They just wouldn't let anybody else in. And they need to work a little bit on their volunteer staff, but given that it was the first year, there's a steep learning curve, and I think they did as well as probably could be expected. So I think, and the guests that they had, I mean, they had Adam West, they had Stan Lee, they had Shatner, they had Ray Park, Darth Maul, David Prowse, Peter Mayhew. I mean, there was a lot of people there that if you had somebody you wanted to see. So my overall impression is, if I was going to give it a letter grade, is I would probably give it a B, and only because of the few problems that they did have, it didn't get an A. But I'm just pleased that it was as big a success as it was, because that means that it'll obviously be back next year, and it'll probably be a much better event, and they'll probably plan it a little bit better and everything. So overall, yeah, solid B. Had a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of cool people. Got to see it. I didn't do the costume contest. Didn't stay and watch any of that or anything. But next year, I'm learning as well. Next year, I'm taking 3 days off and just basically gonna go down to the con and stay there instead of driving and trying to work, half days and then go to it and everything like that. So anyway, that's it for Comic-Con. Getting ready to go watch some football, watch my Raiders, and hope you guys are having a good weekend. And if you'll have a lot of info in the comments section below, that if you want to check out any of the stuff I talked about, you can. And until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.